Hi, thank you for joining the SG Child Show today. I am so excited to bring a special guest, and I mean everybody is a wonderful special, but um Jackie and I connected a while back, and I just think that we both have such passion, and I just want to hear and share her stories with you without giving too much away or anything. Please just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you, and we'll go from there.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to see you again and to speak with
Yeah.
everyone. Hopefully, our conversation will be interesting and informative. And here we go. So, my name is Jacki Edry. I grew up in the States, and I live in Israel. I've been here for many, many years, and I am an author of the book "Moving Forward: Reflections on Autism, Neurodiversity, Brain Surgery, and Faith." And I have a blog and a educator, part-time consultant, things like that, speaker, and all everything to do with neurodiversity. And I have my oldest son is autistic, and I have other neurodivergent kids. Neurodistinct actually is the term I prefer, and I myself am very neurodistinct as 12 years 12 yeah, just not just recently, 12 years ago I had a massive tumor discovered on my brainstem and had surgery. And when I woke up, all of my senses were scrambled. And that changed my reality. And so I went from being caretaker and educator, working with neurodistinct individuals, to also being more neurodistinct than I was beforehand.
Wow.
And after that experience, I realized I gained insights of being on both sides of the coin, and decided to write a book to share those insights that I gained throughout that experience in order to help others. And so in 2021, I published my book. And since then, I've been looking up with people from around the world and speaking whenever possible and trying to get my message out to help improve the lives of people who uh, are looking for more information and different perspectives.
And so much of that is necessary and needed. And to be able to have it come from such an authentic viewpoint, which I can completely, relate to, as far as being on one side of the being a parent and then getting my own diagnosis and
Mhm.
seeing, wow, there is so much more here than I had recently realized. And what a powerful, powerful gift to be able to share with families and educators, like you said. Tell us a little bit about what and some of my viewers from the international events, they may know from other speakers, but tell us a little bit about what it's like in Israel, what the I guess society's viewpoint on autism, and maybe the parent support. What does that look like?
Well, it really depends. Israel's a very, very diverse country. We have people from all different walks of life and all different religions. So there is definitely no one answer for that. It depends totally on the community. Also, in terms of, uh, let's say, in the Jewish community, I'm a religious Orthodox woman, but it depends on the community you're in, because each type of the community or the different levels of keeping the faith have different perspectives per se. In terms of education and in terms of um, availability, government support, and all this, we're definitely pretend we're a very modern country, but we do have a long, 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 long way to go in terms of availability and quality treatment, particularly in the educational system. Um, so that I'd say, comparing to America, there's probably we're behind for sure. Um, the one thing about the Jewish religion, though, if you are practicing in any way or maintain the faith, is that they believe every soul has come down to this earth for a particular reason. So if God made you whatever it may be, ADHD, autistic, neurodistinct in any way, shape, or form, or any kind of whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but that's the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So many communities having that beliefs, then they can be more inclusive,
Yeah.
or more accepting. Um, it really depends. Like I said, we've been very fortunate that that's the attitude that people have had in our communities and in our synagogues. So my son, who was not particularly verbal, particularly when he was young, and he needed very high supports, was always accepted and considered as part of the community. And now, as a young adult, he is very much part of the community and loved. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
You're so right too. And every community is so vastly different in their beliefs and their support that they can give, receive the education that they have. And there's a lot of work around the world to be done, that's for sure. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. We're definitely backwards in terms of inclusion. We are way far behind. I mean, my son was in inclusive education, but I had a real hard time with it. And unfortunately, the one-to-one assistance here do not receive. First of all, the qualifications to be a one-to-one assistant are not on par with what I saw in the American system, and they do not receive the training that they need either. So it is very much extremely difficult to do inclusion here in the educational system.
Yeah. And I would have no idea how to go about like where do you go to get that change? Like, what kind of government programs,
Oh,
agencies, I'm sure that that's
I just fought all the years my kid was in school, and I trained, and I had a fight. I just had a fight like crazy, but it's tiring. But I did it anyway
yeah,
because I knew that was the where I wanted him to be, and then
yeah.
that's where I believed he would most benefit. So yeah,
And it sounds like he did. If he's, in the community, loved by the
yeah,
community and everything, and that's wonderful.
no question, it was good for him, but it's not for everybody. Everybody has their own path, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tricky. That's a tricky thing for people that are just beginning their journey, people that have been on it for a long time to recognize that everybody's at a different place and
mhm.
we just have to honor that individual, that parent, that therapist, that educator, whatever wherever they're at in the space that they're at.
Mhm.
Um how did you start when did you know you wanted to advocate, write the book thing, when did that start for you?
Well, it started the book after my surgery, but my advocacy started many years ago. When I was in high school, I volunteered with an autistic child, and we did a home program with him, very child-centered, a lovely program with a beautiful kid. And that was a long time ago. And then, then, um, then in college, I also worked with autistic kids in summer camps, and they were also very natural settings. Doing, even though they were practically nonverbal, most of the kids I were working with, we did stuff. Teams, we did whitewater canoeing, we did all kinds of fantastic stuff with them. And then after that, I tried to do my thesis about educate. How exercise would help reduce stimming, because I noticed that was happening in the intensive sport environment that we're in the summer camps. And I got a job at a school to do my thesis, a half year program that I would be researching. And it turned out that it was a behavior modification school, which is ABA in the newest form, but at the time it was called behavior modification, talking in the late 80s. And I realized then it wasn't for me. I did not believe in that way of working with children. It was totally opposite of everything I'd done. And so I wound up changing my thesis to address that issue and educational, different ways of educational that were more child-centered approach. And from that, I moved to Israel, and then a number of years later, I got married and I had, and then I realized my son, when he was about 2, I realized that he was either deaf or autistic, and so we did a hearing test and realized he wasn't deaf. Uh, and right at that point, I realized that I had to advocate, because if I didn't, then he would not get the services he needs. So I started doing that, and then we were put him in an inclusion program. And realized people didn't know it was just they just passed a law enabling inclusion in Israel at that time, and he's 27 now, right? So it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But it was a brand new law. They weren't even doing inclusion, and nobody knew what they were doing. So at that point, I started training teachers and doing advocacy there, because in order to ensure that he got what he needed and the people knew what they were doing, I started working with them. So and that went on. Parents needed support, and then naturally, I started running parent groups and stuff way back when. Um, but after I woke up from my brain surgery, I realized that I had insights, because I was no longer just the advocate or the parent. I realized that people don't understand what it feels like to be living with, let's say, I have a lot of problems with sensory processing and a lot of hypersensitivity, particularly in the auditory channel, and unstable visual field until I got early spectral filters, which gave me my life back after 4 years that I practically didn't walk out the door because I had so many visual disturbances.
Wow.
So I realized that people don't know what it feels like, and oftentimes they are frustrated, or they think a kid is lazy, not trying enough, or why is they tantruming, or why are they having such a hard time? There's nothing that seems annoying. I don't know why they cry for no reason. All this kind of stuff. I said, wait a minute, I got to explain this. I've got to talk about it, because I know what it's like to be on both sides. I know what it's like to observe that and think, well, why is my kid tantruming? I don't see anything unusual. And then suddenly I have it. I live with the experience, and suddenly this noise that no one's paying attention to is making me insane, or somebody's perfume, or somebody's face looks like it's melting when I look at them, even though it's not happening, but it's all in my brain. But it's scary. So as an adult and as a person who was not living with that beforehand, I could always reason with myself and say, well, um, that's not real, what you're imagining. But if I had been a child and having those things happen to me, I would have been terrified. And so I would have tantrumed and I would have fled. And people don't understand this. So I decided I have to write a book about that experience to get that knowledge out, to help improve, like I said, improve the lives of those who need it. And many, many parents, when their child's first diagnosed, and you certainly know that I did so much online research, and people are looking for information, because the medical system just gives you a diagnosis and they send you home, and you go, well, what now?
The pamphlet. Yeah.
And so I didn't even get a pamphlet,
Oh gosh.
but I knew. I mean, I had background,
Yeah.
fortunately, but that doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get information out that give people practical information and tools and understanding. So that's been my mission since, and still is.
I love that. And it's so important. Me and my heredity, actually, we have outer ear microtia, which actually gives me and I probably have sensory, a lot of sensory things also. But
You're what?
oh yeah, it's called outer ear microtia.
What is that?
And just basically means that they're like smaller formed. But for in that, I have, and I've had some testing done. I have 1 second longer hearing in each ear than
Whoa.
typical people, but it's also with super high pitch, which hurts. And you can appreciate, not
Absolutely.
many people understand that. And when
I
I was a
totally
child,
know that. Yes.
I may have told you this last time that we talked, but when I was a kid, the in the 70s, the garbage trucks didn't have the air brakes, or anything, and they would come into my neighborhood and I would cry and I would cover my head and I would run into my
Oh,
room and hide. And it wasn't until like maybe in the last 5 years that I recognized my fear of garbage day, my fear of
ah,
the day of garbage day. And my husband
yeah,
and we talked about it and he said, you realize that like you're in your 40s. We don't need to be
yeah.
afraid of the garbage man. And I really like understood, wow, this has really affected me for so long now. And I never realized it. And so yeah, now I'm
That's
okay.
amazing though that you put the pieces together now. Yeah.
Oh, and it's all, sharing that knowledge, like you said, it's so important. It's so important for these parents to understand when your kids covering their ears or something, it's not out of rudeness or out of, disrespect, or they don't want to listen or anything.
They look away. They don't need, don't know if they're
Yeah.
having visual disturbances. Because the person that has that doesn't know that they have it. They don't know there's something wrong. They think everybody's
Yes.
like them, especially children. They that's reality. So they're not going to come and tell their parent, this is annoying me. They think everybody hears the same thing, and they don't know that people don't see double,
Mhm.
or the faces don't melt, or what I mean. It,
Yeah.
that's what I discovered when I took my kids for an Earlin assessment. They were diagnosed with, several of them, with dyslexia and ADHD, and what turns out they had Earlin syndrome and auditory processing. Earlin syndrome is a problem breaking down white light, and it's corrected with colored spectral filters to get an Earlin
Yes.
assessment. Um, but so that
Where's my pen?
things would look like, things were moving around the page, and looked like dyslexia. Um, and they couldn't read, but they didn't say what they were seeing, because, and no one asked in a didactic assessment. People do not ask that as well, which is crazy, right? But they don't ask them, are the
Yeah.
letters moving, are the page turning, colors, all kinds of things like that, which they do in a neural assessment. Um, and they don't know to tell you because they just think it's regular, you know.
Hmm.
So
It's
that's a very
amazing.
important thing for parents to be aware of, that you
Mhm.
should ask, if the child is verbal and can communicate, how they see things or how they hear things, or try and understand the sensory thing, and help give them the words to express. And then you can see, if they tell you, well, the road goes up when I walk or something, which is actually what happened to me, or things like, oh, really? They wouldn't have occurred to them to tell you that. And
Yeah.
you can get that information and then find tools to help them.
Thank you so much. That's just so valuable because even my own kids, I don't know if I've ever asked them that same thing. So that's great. I love curiosity. I love to want to know more, especially about, experiences and things. So I really appreciate that. Let's go back to before you had the tumor. What prompted you to go get it checked out? What was the signs for you that you needed to go get it looked at?
Um, I was feeling exhausted all the time.
Mm.
Um, I was just feeling like a car, like the gas was running out, starting to like putter. I was very, very tired, and I was getting a stiff neck. I just felt like something was wrong, and went to the doctor over and over again, and they couldn't find anything. My blood work was perfect, and all this other stuff, but they weren't finding anything. And then I started noticing my hearing, and that was probably what saved my life. Is that my hearing on my left side was becoming, it was in normal range, but I didn't understand what people were saying to me. It sounded like people were talking to me through a wad of cotton or something, or underwater. One moment, one. Okay. I was underwater, sorry. Um, and I just couldn't understand. And it just kept getting worse, although my testing was hearing is in normal range. Like, it's developed very severe auditory processing disorder in my left ear only. And so after about a year of complaining that it was getting worse and worse and worse, my ENT sent me for an MRI and discovered a whopping tumor on my brainstem that had probably been there for 10, 15 years.
Wow.
It was huge. It was, I mean, for a brainstem, it is a very, very small part of the brain. And I had a 5 centimeter round tumor on it. And all my nerves were involved. And it was just, it was just, one half second, please. Sorry.
Yeah, you're absolutely fine.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah.
So, and my nerves were involved. It was very harrowing. So within like a couple of weeks after receiving the results of the MRI, I was already on the operating table.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I couldn't hear my left ear, because otherwise I probably wouldn't be here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, definitely. And then you woke up, and what was it you realized and recognized first? What was off, if you could say? Or I don't know. I guess now that the tumor's removed.
Hit by a train. My doctor told me, my surgeon said I was going to feel that way, and he was not exaggerating. It was that painful. Everything. And because they tinker in your brain, then my brain, fortunately, my cognition was not affected, but everything else was. And I had a really long surgery too. It was like 11 hours, I think, or 12 hours.
Wow.
And then I slept, I think, for another 24 or so. Fortunately, when I woke up, I was no longer intubated. I started breathing on my own, and they took out the tube, because that wouldn't have been fun. But everything was off. My body was disorganized. I didn't know I had to relearn how to walk, and had problems, talk, and didn't realize very quickly in the ICU, I realized I was having problems swallowing. They told me I might. I do have damage on one of my nerves. So on my left side, I can't swallow properly. I don't. But at the time, I didn't realize that I really had problem. I couldn't swallow it, So that I realized very quickly that I was having problems. I couldn't eat or do anything like a normal person, or walk. But then I realized pretty quickly that something just seemed really off. I didn't know how to explain it. When they would push me in a wheelchair, I would just get so dizzy, and it didn't seem like a vestibular thing. I know I do have the damaged vestibular nerve on that side, but it was just something off. I would get dizzy, and everything just looked weird. And that was already like while I was still in the hospital. And that was what turned out that as a result of surgery, I had severe problems. Light in the hospital. I didn't know it was lights at the time. It took me a really long time to figure out that was the deal.
Yeah.
But everything was blurry, and I lost my depth perception, which is very weird, because I knew things were farther away from me, let's say, but I couldn't judge how far anything was, because I got 2D vision, right?
Yeah.
And then staircases would spin around, and all kinds of things like that, and the lights would dance across the ceiling, and the lines and the tiles between tiles on the floor become parallel lines, and the streets would go, all kinds of things. It was just all visual disturbances. And then I realized in the hospital, and it didn't go away for 4 years. I went to ophthalmologist, I went to neurologist, I went to neuro-ophthalmologist, and nobody knew or could put a finger on it. They were not, I don't know what they thought I was imagining. And then I got a colored lens. I went to an Irlen provider, IRLEN.com. She put a colored lens in front of my eye, and all of that went away immediately.
Wow.
And not one person, not one professional. And I was hunting. I couldn't, for 4 years, I could barely walk out the door, and I couldn't even ride in a car because I would get nauseous. I would get vertigo. And color, that's it. A custom colored lens, and it went away. And
It's
I would
crazy.
think that telling professionals these things, everybody would just run, whether they saw a person had a first or second grader having reading issues, or somebody like me, they would first immediately tell them to get urine tested, and they don't even, because it's not mechanical, they don't try and refer people. They don't even try to learn more about it. They just poo-poo it.
Yeah.
It's
It's crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. I've
Absolutely.
been to so many educators and so many doctors and so many professionals, and they do not. Right. Sorry. Shh. Sorry, someone walked in the door.
You're good.
Noisy doggies.
No, that must be so frustrating.
It
And
is.
I just can't, it's so hard that there's not some sort of like everybody could, well, now AI hopefully will help us figure those things out a little bit quicker, but that there's not somewhere doctors can have this information to share with each other
Educators. I know
to
so many educators
yes.
and school principals, and they saw, and my kids once they got diagnosed, and they were having, one was 11th grade and had serious problems reading. Fifth grade could not read. They had years remedial instruction that didn't work, and then they got them colored lenses and they started reading
Yeah.
like immediately. And they knew technically what to do, but within 10 minutes everything was moving around, and they just,
Mm.
not one of them ever did it, and I explained it all, and not one of them ever referred other kids, or they said, wow, it's incredible. I said, okay, so help all the other kids that you don't have resources to give them remedial instruction. You get them tested, and maybe
Get them
no,
tested.
no.
Yeah, why don't they include it
How many
in
years
some
of being
type of a
sad? How
testing?
many years of feeling deficient? How many years of failing
Yeah.
in school for no reason? uh,
Wow.
I don't know, things have got to change.
That's
That's why
crazy.
I wrote my book,
Yeah.
and
Thank
that's
you.
why I write
Yeah.
a whole chapter about that,
Yeah.
just to get that information out there. If people find it, hopefully, more people will read my blog and my book, and get that information. That's sort of what I'm trying to get out there, so that can help those people understand these things and look for the solutions.
Yeah, because the more solution, the more we get the information in front of the more people that they can share it with people, and hopefully it can definitely make its way into a more mainstream understanding
Yeah.
of something that would be helpful. And yeah, it just
Okay.
really surprises me sometimes when
Mm,
these answers that people find going through their own experiences,
yeah.
and then they're just like hard to uncover, I suppose.
Sure. As a parent, just if you feel something's going on, just keep looking. Just keep looking. Don't ever let some professional says, "Oh, there's nothing can do about it." Don't ever accept that answer.
Mm, that's
Parents
not
parents feel their kids, understand their kids, and don't give up. Just keep looking.
yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different providers. How many providers for is it Ireland? Is that how I
Ireland,
pronounce it?
IRLEN.com.
Ireland.
There are lots all over the country. You could go on their website, and they have, it's a worldwide thing. They have providers all over the world. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
aware. I just, we fortunately have somebody
New
in
was
Israel
it?
who started a center. So, but
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on anywhere else in the world.
And what about your information? Do you have a website that we could send people to go to about the
Sure.
book?
My website is JACKIS jackisbooks.com. And there's a blog on there and information about my book, a bunch of podcasts and things. Hopefully, in the near future, also we're launching a new, thank you, uh, a new section which will be called Organizing Minds, and that should be launching within the next couple of months, with my mentor and very dear friend, who will be giving him a section on my site to show his work, and it is incredible. I've been waiting for him for years to agree to do so. So I hope I invite everybody to come and check out the site over the next few months, and hopefully you'll find it interesting and helpful.
Oh, absolutely. I really encourage all of my viewers and listeners to go to jackisbooks.com, jackisbooks.com. Make sure you go and support, check out the information, share the information. That's one of the most helpful things you can do, is share with other communities that you might be a part of, share with groups that you might be a part of. I think that's a great way of spreading this information, especially with social media these days. Yeah, and we really appreciate the information, all of it really, and the work you're doing and the passion and advocacy you have for helping, and a really special um it takes a really special heart to put your passion in kind of what you do to help communities worldwide. So thank you so much for what
Thank
you're
you
doing.
for your kind words. I appreciate it. It's very heartwarming.
Absolutely. Well, these are answers, like you said, that we go to 7 different doctors for, that no one can put the pieces together. But
Mhm.
like you said, don't stop looking. Keep searching. Hopefully you find this podcast and run across it. AI, give the information to everyone that needs it.
Mhm. Yeah,
So yeah, it was so nice to catch up with you today. And I really hope that, your message just keeps moving as far as it can, and educators and doctors take it more seriously, or just realize the importance of having all of the information out there that can help these families and individuals.
thank you so much.
Absolutely, it was so nice to get to catch up, and I know that it's probably in the middle of the night or something there for you. Or what time is it there? It's pretty
It's
late.
not so right. It's only 8:30.
Okay, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. When we talked, I remember we tried to get it not too late. But I appreciate you taking the time in an evening and everything. So it's so great to chat with you, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely, and I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And let me know if other books come out in the future. We'll
I
have you.
certainly will. I
Okay.
certainly. Thank you.